Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast to discuss the penultimate game of the season. Unfortunately, it's a defeat, 3 straight defeats for Wolves. We won't get too carried away. I'm delighted to be alongside Mr. Jordan Russell for this one to discuss the game. Quite a raw one for us in the sense that we haven't had a break really. The match is finished. We're recording this pretty much 20 minutes after full time, which, Jordan, I don't think we've done before. But nevertheless, how are you? Did you enjoy your trip abroad last week? You were missing from the last pod.
Yeah, no, it was nice, mate. To be fair, I was in Abu Dhabi for a week, and yeah, it was nice just to chill and do bugger all really. It was like over 40 degrees for most of the days, so it's quite hot. Managed to get some golfing as usual, but yeah, it was nice, mate. I went over there to see one of my best mates, his wife. They've recently had a little one, so I went over, took a little Wolves kit, trying to make a Wolves fan out of him. But it's a family on both sides of Blue Noses, so it might be a losing battle. But did manage to get him in a kit for the Saturday. But what was wild and weird about the whole thing was I was actually in the hotel next door was Donald Trump.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so. Because we went to play golf in Dubai on the Friday, I got a taxi and left rather than going left, which is where me and Emma would have got when we went out. That's where a lot of things were. Turned right, and there's just American flags everywhere. And I said to the taxi driver, I said, "Oh, this is a bit excessive. I know Trump's in town, but this is a bit weird." And he goes, "Oh no, Mr. Trump's stopping here." And then all of a sudden, when I looked a bit closer, there's just security. Everything around the hotel was bonkers. I think he was stopping at the Ritz-Carlton. So yeah, it was pretty wild, mate. So I was within about probably, 800 meters from the President of the United States.
I'm sure there's plenty of people listening that would probably have wanted you to do many things to him. I don't know. Actually, with our listener base and some of the things I see on some people's Twitters that reply to our things, maybe not. I don't know. Did you? So one of our listeners reached out to you, didn't they, as well, for a round of golf? Did you manage to catch up with them?
Yeah. No, I didn't, unfortunately, because I'd already arranged to play one round. I messaged back and just said, yeah, if I play more than one, my wife will kill me. And the only reason why I got the sign off on that was because my mate's wife and Theo, the little one, were coming in to have the day over as I went out. But funny enough, I got the taxi out to Dubai to go and meet my mate Kane, and we actually played at Trump International as well. So common theme was played at Trump's golf course, and he was stopping next door. Yeah, so yeah, pretty wild. But yeah, no, it's I did say next time I'm in and around definitely will play. But I've had a few requests now to go and play golf, so I'm not sure we can make much of a series out of it. But if anyone wants to invite me down to their local course, might be able to bring some cameras down and have I don't know what we can do with it, but we'll see.
We need a good. If we had a decent production team behind us, willing to do it for a low fee, we could easily do a little series. Because I know there's a lot of Wolves players, past and present, interested in the golf scene. I mean, you come across quite a few, don't you? Whenever
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I won't share where I play, but yeah, Michael Kitely's there, Don Goodman's there. When I've played at other courses, I know Dave Edwards, keen golfer, Jack Price I've seen, Harry Burgoyne. So there's definitely a few that we could possibly do it with, and there might even be some within the local in the current squad that play golf, but I'm not quite sure who is or not. But yeah, like I say, if we can get enough interest and people are up for it, then let's get it going. It'll be quite a fun thing to do, I think, over a summer.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately now we have got to talk about Palace 4, Wolves 2. Jord, in terms of penultimate games, look, we want to go into every game of football thinking and believing and sort of knowing that Wolves are going to win. But I think if there was one game to describe or to show that Wolves have pretty much maybe not given up, but sort of are on the beach is probably the better phrase and the more popular phrase. I think tonight was the night, wasn't it? We've lost the last two, albeit against teams, Brighton, who are definitely a capable team. Manchester City, we know the team that they are. Palace, we have had awful format historically. I mean, we went to Selhurst Park a couple of years ago away from home. I didn't brave the trip this time around because I know what it can be like midweek. But you're coming up against a team that have just won the FA Cup. I suppose it's going to go one of two ways. They're still going to be up for it. They're going to have that momentum. The fans are going to be up for it, or they may have that little bit of a hangover. But I think for me, Jord, at times Wolves showed that they had the hangover. It was just a strange night of football. And I don't think it'll be a night that Vitor Pereira was too pleased with either.
No, I don't think he will be. And I think actually, I thought the best thing on the weekend was Palace winning the cup for us for this game. To be fair, on Tuesday, because I thought they'd be on a massive high. They'd probably over celebrate. I thought they'd massively rotate, which, in all fairness to them, they did.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought we'd be able to go and just beat them, and just didn't turn out that way. I think I said a few weeks ago on the podcast, there's probably going to be some 5-3s and 4-2s that we may or may not be on the right end of, and unfortunately we're on the wrong end of one tonight. It was there was bits within it that I thought we played quite well at times, and I say at times very loosely because I think it was very small pockets where I thought we played quite well. But I think Vitor Pereira is going to be really disappointed with that tonight. I think I'm not going to be coming on here and being reactionary or overreactionary,
Yeah.
overreact to it. Like I think seeing sort of immediate post-match thoughts on social media, I think people are probably taking it a little bit too far. I know there's money to be played for, and you want to win every football game you go and play in. But we massively rotated ourselves, and I think that I personally think that Vita Pereira has done that tonight on purpose. From not from a wanting to go out and lose a game, but I think he wanted to almost show that the squad depth just isn't really
Yeah.
there for us to be able to go and compete. And we've lost to a Palace team there tonight who no Adam Wharton, not even in the squad, Mark Gay, not even in the squad. Eze and Mateta have come on for like the last 5 minutes, so they're four best players. Or four of the best players weren't even involved, and
Yeah.
we got made to look ordinary at times. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think Vitor's again trying to send a message to the board, Jeff Shee, that actually we need to massively strengthen this squad if you want us to compete. And we can't afford to be doing what we've done in two of the last three seasons, where we're languishing in around the relegation zone, and then we have to change manager and almost spend a lot of money, probably overspend in the January just to get us out the shit. I think he's done that on purpose, like I say, with the team's selection tonight, and I think he's proved a point really that depth just ain't there.
Yeah.
And I think it's a massive. I feel like we say this every summer, which is it's jarring to be honest with you, but it is a massive summer for us because I think there's going to be a lot of senior players leave this club, and we need to get it right.
Yeah. I think that the rotated lineup for me is frustrating in a sense. I didn't expect it, to be completely honest. It was at the time when I saw it, it was a pleasant surprise, I suppose. But when you've got 10 days rest, you're against a team that have played just a few days ago in what would have been a tiring game, 90 plus minutes at Wembley. I have no doubt would have partied over the weekend as well. This was a good chance for Wolves to get points on the board. And look, if we had that team, I suppose it's looking very likely. Semedo's not going to be here. Obviously, Cunha's probably not going to be here. I don't dislike those sort of players being rotated out. But the rest of the, João Gomez, Sarabi and Gedge, who haven't been particularly fantastic and more than likely going to move on, kept their place in the team. I don't know. I still think there would have been enough indications if Wolves started their strongest team today. Surely the board would have known anyway that they've still got to strengthen the team. I get Vitor potentially wanted to send a message out, but for me, you play your strongest team, and I would have thought the club would have put pressure on Vitor to do that because ultimately there are league positions to play for, and there's quite a lot of money to play for as well. I think we've Wolves' strongest team there, and I think it's easy for me to say it with you here, Jord. I think even with the likes of Marshall Manetti starting today, alongside Jorgenstrand Larson and potentially with Cunha, I think you cause Palace a lot more problems. You look at it today, nearly 70% possession. Palace had 7 more shots on target than us and had 30% possession. We were just not productive enough in the final third. which was frustrating. I felt some of the stuff we played at times was quite tidy. We were sloppy early on in the game, but we played some tidy stuff, but just didn't test the goalkeeper enough. Jord, one of the talking points at the moment, I've not even looked at the questions because, like you mentioned earlier, has been quite reactionary on social media. But I've no doubt a lot of the questions about Dan Bentley and his performance. Again, a weird one for me. Yes, he came in at Old Trafford, didn't have a hell of a lot to do against Manchester United, but ultimately kept a clean sheet. Today he was, busier, and unfortunately, I don't think he particularly covered himself in glory. What I will do in terms of, as much as I can defend him, I think the first goal, I'll get your thoughts on it in a second. The first goal, he probably should do better with the initial shot, but the goal shouldn't even happen because I think it should be stopped way before that anyway. Second goal, he can't do much about. Third goal, I think, is a little bit unfortunate because there's almost a double deflection off the free kick, although he could possibly sort his feet right. Fourth goal, I think it's poor goalkeeping, but I've seen people say he's the worst player to ever put a Wolves shirt on. That's what that define reactionary. You put that post and tweet there, but what are your thoughts on that, Jord? I just don't see the need in rotating the goalkeeper position, to be honest.
No, but we haven't had any sort of news yet about Saar being injured or just being left out or anything
True.
like that. And the, let's not, let's call a spade a spade. Like Dan Bentley is our third choice goalkeeper, or certainly was at the start of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Johnson, you can tell, Vito can say he's injured. It can all come out. Sam Johnson's just shithoused it. He ain't injured. He's thrown his toys out his pram because he come here to be first choice. He got told to be first choice. I think the club thought they were going to move Saar on to Saudi in the summer. Didn't happen. Started Johnson, losing some games. Gary O'Neill thought I've just got to change it, put Saar back in, just try and get a result. And I think we did pick up a result. And then obviously O'Neill gets sacked. The staff, Gary O'Neill staff leave, who brought Sam Johnson in. I forgot it was Neil Cutler. Is it Neil Cutler? That who's the goalkeeper
Yeah,
coach for
yeah,
me?
yeah.
It was under Neil Cutler's recommendation that you bring in Sam Johnson as well, and he got the sack with Gary O'Neill. So all of a sudden, Sam Johnson's here. There's new management, Portuguese, probably going to favour Jose Sarr. Probably wanted out in January, hasn't got his move, and I think he's on garden leave. I think he'll be one of the first to leave in the summer, to be honest with you. And that then leads, to playing Dan Bentley, who is our third choice goalkeeper. And yeah, I agree with you. I think the first goal, it's poor goalkeeping, but that goal should never ever happen in a million years. It should have been stopped 30, 40 yards away from goal. I thought Rodrigo Gomez was poor for
Mm-hmm.
it. Agbadu didn't cover himself in glory either for that goal, if I'm honest with you. Bentley should definitely do better. I think the third one, the Chilwell one, again, I saw him get stick for that. I'll stand up from there and be like, well, like I say, double deflection. He's wrong footed. I think he'd be disappointed he still managed to go in because he didn't go in at such a pace, but he was wrong footed. The fourth one, he's gone down like a sack of spuds. And again, I'll defend him a little bit. The defending is shocking for that fourth goal. Like, everyone can tell that Eze
The
wants to.
position is awful. Really,
Yeah,
really poor.
it is, but again, like, something again that you think, well, Semedo, it was really poor from Semedo. It showed him inside. Everyone knows that Eze wants to come in on his right foot and do that, and he did, and he sort of scuffed it into the bottom corner. But I think we all know, and I'm sure some of the questions are about our goalkeeping situation and where we are with it. I've said for a while, I think Sar's a great shot stopper, but he's not a modern day goalkeeper that we want that can play out with the ball, can play it from the back really. So I think we need at least two goalkeepers in the summer, at least two goalkeepers. And if Sar's got an injury or knock, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised to see Tom King get a game on Sunday, against Brentford. I just think it might happen. I think it might happen. And you know what? The way, even I feel like I'm on the beach doing this podcast because that's just how they made me feel. We had such good momentum, and now we've lost three in a row. I don't really give a shit really either when it comes to who plays against Brentford. So yeah, I would give Tom King a go.
Yeah, I would think. Well, sort of as we speak right now, we're getting the quotes coming from Vitor's press
Right.
conference. So if there's anything from Sarr, then obviously I'll bring it up in a second. But I just think you go Sunday with your strongest team, regardless. It may be a farewell for some players. Hopefully, between now and Sunday, we have a bit more clarification. It's pretty obvious that Mateus is going, Nelson Semedo and Pablo Sarabia. It'd be quite nice, I think, just to get a bit of clarification on that. We've seen that there's been a number of Premier League clubs already have either their players announce what they're doing or even release their retained lists already as well. So I think it would be nice to a degree if we know Nelson Semedo is going to be able to give him a proper send off on Sunday as well.
Yeah.
Cunha, we know, the writing sort of on the wall for him. Talking about Cunha, obviously didn't start today. Fairly ineffective when he came on, but again, I don't think that's completely his fault. Just in terms of we just struggled to get the ball into the final third. Vitor said his omission today was nothing to do with those rumours, which I find hard to believe because surely you would start your best player if you had any belief that he would stay at the football club. In my opinion, anyway. Um, the goals, Jord, I was just trying to find out when you were talking then in terms of goals, attacking corner goals for Wolves, because as we know earlier on this season, we're atrocious in terms of the defending set pieces. But 2 goals directly from corners today, something the Wolves probably should be better at, because if you look at our strongest 11, you've got 3 big centre halves, you'd have Strand Larsen, you'd have Manetzi involved as well. You've got 4 or 5 big boys there. So I can't quite remember off the top of my head last time we scored direct from a corner, but 2 goals today. And, in matches like today, when maybe from open play you're struggling to break through, it's nice to have a different way of, finding the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't. I've got a feeling they might be our first 2 goals from corners this season. I
Yeah, I'm trying to
certainly can't. I
find.
certainly can't remember any. And you're right. We should be a lot better from set pieces. And I think actually that was part of the reason why in January as well, amongst other things, that Vitor brought Manetzi and Agbedu to be better in both boxes when it comes to set pieces and set plays. And um, I definitely feel like we should be getting more from them, and I'm sure we will do next season as well. I think the team's going to look a hell of a lot different, and I think we're going to play in a completely sort of different style next season. If anything's to go by sort of the transfers we made in January, I've got a feeling we're going to go for big, strong, and powerful, and almost just be very difficult to play against and break down, almost like a mold of like Stoke in yesteryear, or even like a Bolton. I think that's sort of what we're going to go and do. I think if you can't compete technically all over the pitch, make it difficult for teams to beat you. And we've not been like that for a while. And
Mm.
I think it can only help us really, a bit of tenacity and a bit of steel. I think that fits into the DNA of Wolves as a football club and as a city really. So I think I'm all for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm still trying to search to see if I can find the corners. I'm sure that there's probably somebody. I suppose goals from headers, but that's not really going to help because I have no
No.
doubt he scored a couple of goals from headers as well. I'll have a better look in a minute. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to get those goals from the set pieces, and we seem to have shored ourselves up defensively in terms of set pieces ever since Vitor came. And I think there's been once or twice where we looked a bit shaky or conceded, but looked a lot better. And we saw Jorgen Strand Larsen grab another goal. Jord 14 Premier League goals now for him in his debut season. Obviously, no penalty goals. A better record than Raul Jimenez in his debut season at Wolves. Better as any season in terms of non-penalty goals and Raul as well, and not taking anything away from Raul Jimenez because ultimately he was, I'm sure a lot of Wolves fans will probably look at him as the best top flight striker Wolves have ever had as such, but in the modern era at least, let's say. But I mean, it continues to impress Wolves fans, doesn't he, Strand Larsen? I think yes, he's had shaky moments, and yes. There's been a few question marks in regards to forwards being linked with Wolves all the time. Is Vitor going to change formation? But ultimately, we've seen without Strand Larsen, we've struggled. So I think another forward in some capacity will have to come in the summer. But just continues a really strong, positive first debut season at Wolves, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's. I think we said it a few weeks ago. I think is it worth every bit of that 25 million euro we're gonna have to pay for him, right? So I think it's an unbelievable return. I think he works his bollocks off. I think he's a really, really good finisher. I know he had that little spell maybe around Christmas where he missed a few glorious golden opportunities, but since he scored against Southampton, I think it was that broke his duck again for sort of this back half of the season. He hasn't really looked back. And I think when it comes to players within just talking about Premier League generally, let alone Wolves, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. I think you hear people talking about strikers, and you've got the obvious ones, your Isaacs and your Haalands and that sort of ilk of player. But then I think he's been every bit as good as sort of a Johan Wissa, for example. And again, I mean, Johan Wissa's had an incredible season, and someone I wish we could have got over the line in the summer when we were linked with him, because that would have been a hell of a partnership, perhaps. But
Mm.
yeah, Strand Larsen's gone completely under the radar. I don't think people have realised actually the impact he's had on the team and how many goals he's actually scored. But yeah, I think he's been an incredible signing for a first year season. I think that you'd only think there'd be more to come from him. So I'm hoping that playing in a touch wood, a higher performing team next season, move a bit further up the table. Who's you wouldn't bet against him going on to get closer to 20 in all comps next season. The way it's gone this
Mm.
year, so um, yeah, look, he's had a fantastic debut season, and long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. Things go our way next season. You have hopefully get a penalty or two. Hopefully he gets on those as well. We'll move on to some of the questions, George, because I think in terms of what was. I'm sure we'll come on to the game, and most of these questions will be out about the game
Hmm.
with us posting this or recording this straight after full time as well. Scott Smith on Twitter tonight was an example of what we have to come with several players leaving this summer. Defensively, I think we'll be okay despite a horror show tonight, but it shows we need to get the goalkeeper position right. How many signings do you think we require to be competitive in the top half? I know the goalkeeper situation is a weird one anyway, Jordan. I know you touched on it earlier. For me, Jose Sarr is actually probably one of the more improved players at Wolves, in terms of maybe what everyone's perception was of him at the start of the season to now. I think it's definitely improved. So I don't think it'll be a number one priority for Wolves to address that if Jose wants to stay. But ultimately, over the last two summers, there have been maybe question marks over his future at the club. But how many signings do you think we're required to be competitive in the top half? I think you're talking maybe 3 or 4 top signings at least, aren't you? Really, you're talking wing back. You're talking probably two forwards and two number 10s rather. Maybe another forward to add more competition, Strand Larsen at the very minimum. I think the rest of the team can mould itself into a team that can compete in the top half, I would say.
Yeah, I think you're probably looking at. I think we need as many as 6
Mhm.
to be in that top half, because I think the teams around us are all going to get stronger as well. And I think
Yeah.
you look at, say, Cunha's going, Semedo's off, Sarabu will go. Um, I think there's a chance Aitnari will go, and I know Hugo Brenner might come into that, but let's say Aitnari goes as well. Yeah, I personally think we need. I think we need. I do think Sarr will go as well. I do,
I think
but
it'll be a busy summer regardless. I was just
yeah.
thinking in terms of like key signings, but
Oh, key signings. I think
I can see it being a summer of like 7 or 8 players coming in, which is
yeah,
a massive risk for the club, really. But I think that's what will happen.
yeah. I think we need 2 wing backs. I think we need 2 number 10s. I think we need another centre forward, and I think we need a goalkeeper.
Mm.
So for me, I think that's at least. I think it's at least 6. Because I think you look at it tonight. I like Rodrigo Gomez. I think he offers a lot. I think tonight he had a poor game, and I don't think we should be going into next season banking on Rodrigo Gomez and Pedro Lima being our right wing back opportunity choices. Should I say? I know you got Matt Doherty who can obviously play there as well, but I think Semedo going is such a massive loss defensively. To be honest
Yeah.
with you, and his leadership, I think we're definitely going to need to strengthen in those areas, and like I say, number 10s, we're going to need people that can um, be creative and unlock defenses. And really, strictly speaking, we haven't had that consistently enough. Even on the upturn of our form, it's been sporadic at times. So I think we just need quality in a lot of positions, and that's why again. I don't want to harp on about it because it feels like every summer's the same, like I said. But it's a big summer for us, and that
Yeah.
and for me that almost lies goes back to I don't think we were a very good run football club. because not every summer should be transitional.
No.
So
You'd hope there's a summer where you might. Obviously, it's so hard to keep the core of your squad anyway, especially when there's certain players like considerably outperforming others. In like Cunha's case, for argument's sake, but every summer seems like we're going to lose a couple of key players. We've got to add we've got to add players. The replacements, I think, for the likes of Neto just haven't worked this year. Obviously, as we spoke about a number of times, Carlos Forbes was meant to be that man. Just in terms of the wide players attacking, there's just not enough bite in those forward areas outside of Strand Larsen and Cunha, in my opinion. Rodrigo Gomez is an interesting one because it's been, with Semedo, I think sometimes I underrate how important he is to us. I think today showed me that he's going to be a miss. I don't think it was a great day at the office for anyone in particular today. So it could just be a bad day for Rodrigo Gomez. But I think in terms of his overall performance, especially in the first half, I think he was better in the second half on the left. But in terms of the first half, I think it showed to me why he maybe hasn't been playing as much football as Wolves fans would have wanted him to. Maybe that's the same for Pedro Lima. I think every time Pedro Lima's played, he's actually looked okay, to be fair. But in training, they're obviously not showing enough. And for me, I think Rodrigo Gomez showed today why maybe he's not quite ready to be playing lots of regular football. I think he's so enthusiastic. You saw that tonight. He wanted to get on the ball at
yeah,
times, but just a little bit sloppy. And maybe just in terms of the decision making wasn't quite right.
yeah.
Um,
And I think as well, like I don't want it to come across saying that I don't think Rodrigo Gomez is good enough. I think Rodrigo Gomez is more than good enough, and I think he will be more than good enough with experience and time. What I'm trying to get at is I feel like we can't rest on our laurels and think that that's good enough for next season because there'll be difficult moments as a young lad, and then you almost want to turn to someone with a little bit more experience. And if you're then looking around on the bench and you've got Pedro Lima, who's even more inexperienced, I just feel like Semedo's going to be a massive, massive loss in that area.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, in terms of Vitor's comments, there hasn't been a lot. He said the players who were left out today, it was his decision because it's time to share the minutes and understand what others can do. So I think he's pretty much got one eye on the new season now, which is fair
Yeah,
enough. Which doesn't excuse some of the choices. I still think, unless it's obvious Sarri's moving on and he wants to give Bentley a bit of a chance, which I think obviously in hindsight is a bit of a mistake. Sarabia's dying is a weird one again, unless he's going to be penning a new deal. But it sounds like he wasn't happy again. He said a lot of mistakes, 4 goals. He said he gave minutes to the players who have worked hard in training, but we cannot come here and make the mistakes that we have. So hopefully that is rectified for Saturday when we play against Brentford as well. Let's move on to the next question as well. Jack Gill, do you think we're in for a rinse and repeat next season? Given the amount of players who will probably leave and poor recruitment in the summer, which will inevitably happen again as it does every summer. I mean, we've touched on that quickly there, Jord, but you just hope and pray that in terms of the recruitment and the backing, it just gets sorted and solved because like you said, I said to somebody earlier today, it's felt like a transitional season for about 5 years. New managers move on, or in Bruno Lage's case, he wanted to change formation, so it was a transitional summer to get that system right. Completely backfired. Lopetegui came in, you had a pre-season that was completely transitional. Then he dipped on the eve of the new season. Then Gary O'Neill had as a free season, that's transitional, and he's gone. And then this summer's going to be transitional. It's just like a never-ending cycle, and it's just getting a bit frustrating and boring. I just almost feel like I want Wolves to be aiming for something because at the moment there's no like end goal really with what's going on.
I think we set our stall out a little bit of being a selling club,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I think you almost need to understand a little bit your place within the footballing hierarchy, and that doesn't mean you can accept mediocrity and not want to strive to be better and go and win cups and get European football. But that's just where we are at the moment as a football club. And I think what doesn't help is when your chairman comes out saying, "Well, if you want to win things, Wolves might not be the right club for you." And I almost feel like we've people come to Wolves now to elevate their careers. We're almost seen as a springboard to the next thing, and I think it's a dangerous precedent to set because you have a successful season everyone who's been a part of that successful season will think, well, great, I've earned my move now to a bigger club, and we've sort of manufactured that ourselves a little bit. Like I think under Nuno, when we were pushing for Europe and beating, your Man Cities and your traditional big six teams regularly, people didn't want to come to Wolves to leave. They came here to compete and win and elevate their careers in a way of with the football club. Now, I think the players come to Wolves. I think if I have a good 12, 18 months, I'm going to go and get sold. And that's a problem as well. And that comes back to that. It's always going to be almost like a hamster wheel, right? And it only takes one bad window, which we had in the summer, really, one bad window on the whole, and you're well within, you can go down. So it's dangerous, really dangerous, sort of the model that we're in at the moment. And I think we need to get it right this summer, desperately, because I don't want another season like we've had this year. Like I really haven't enjoyed it for the majority.
I agree.
Like really haven't enjoyed it, and that's not just because we're losing football games. Just for large parts of the season, I had no sort of connection with this team, and they really pissed me off at times. And certain individuals really pissed me off at times. And one of them left in January, and one of them's probably one of them will leave in a week or so to Man United. And I just don't want to be a part. I just don't want to keep going through that cycle. I actually want to enjoy watching Wolves. I want to, I love the club, and I just, I think Fosen keep gambling with that, and we will. You can't keep gambling and get away with it. So they need to actually give Pereira a bit of a foundation to build something. Because I genuinely think if Pereira doesn't get backed, he'll walk as well. I think he'll go. I think he'll do Lopetegui.
I think he has to be. He will have to be backed in regards to the profile and the quality of the players going and the money that is coming in as well. I just think naturally he's going to be backed anyway. But it's obviously up to him to identify the right sort of role and he obviously identified Minetti in January as a player that he wanted in terms of profile. It's up to him in the summer to identify these sort of profiles again and make sure the recruitment team get the job done. But it will be interesting if the last couple of weeks affects anything. And like I said, I think the last three teams we played are good teams. I think Palace and Brighton are teams that we should be competing with closer in better ways. And like I think in the last two games we've actually played some okay stuff. It's just finding that bite. And I think both games are quite similar in the fact that just not enough bite in the final third to punish these teams and put them to the sword. But yeah, I'm hoping it's a successful summer and he is backed. In regards to that though, Jord, Ronan Gibbons has asked an interesting question. This is probably very reactionary, so I think he's sort of answered it for himself. But would you hold off offering Vitor a new contract? If we lose on Sunday, it's 4 losses in a row and it's deja vu all over again. I don't want us to make the same mistake as last summer. I'm going to put it out there right now, right? I'm still not 100% convinced by Vitor, if I'm honest. And that's quite a brave thing, I think, for me to say. Not that I think he's crap or anything like that. It's just there's just a weird feeling that I've got that I just don't think. I don't know, but I sort of get Ronan's stance, but then I sort of get the stance that any manager going into the final 12 months of his contract, it's a risk really, because is he going to want to give his all? And if he knows there's a club there that's sort of umming and ahhing about his future, and I suppose if they back him in the summer, Jord, they've really got to, in terms of transfers, they've really got to back him with a new deal as well.
Yeah, I understand the question though because of the mistake that happened with O'Neill, but I think we all said at the time O'Neill shouldn't have got a new deal because the writing was on the wall for a very long time there. With Pereira, I think you can't look at too much into these last 3 games because, like I say, Man City and Man City, Brighton, a good side, and Palace as well are a good side. Teams we should be competing with. I'm disappointed to lose against, but it can
Our
happen,
season's
especially
done
this sort of
ultimately.
yeah.
The
That's what
job's
I'm
done
saying.
for us. Yeah.
We've got nothing to pay for. So I think what you can do is sort of judge Pereira on the job he's done from December, that first game against Leicester, to ultimately where we've gone and beat Tottenham. I think, and then gone and beat Leicester was the last of the run, and go well. Bookmark those Leicester games. Everything that happened between those two Leicester victories, on the whole, was very, very good. And I think he's a much more competent manager than Gary O'Neill was. I think we're going to have probably anywhere between sort of, I think, 120 to 150 million available to spend in the summer, or at least should be, with the outgoing sales we've got, plus those and giving a little bit of money to top that up. You can't give 150 million quid to a bloke that you don't see a long term plan with, because
Yeah.
you might as well just get rid of him now. If
Mm-hmm.
you've got any sort of reservations that he ain't the right guy for you, that's a lot of money that you're entrusting in someone to go and find the right profile of player for you. I think he'll get a new deal. I think he won't get as long as what Gary O'Neill
I
did.
agree. Yeah.
I think he might get a 12 with a 12 option. It's almost like a 2 year with an option breakout for both parties, maybe. So I do think he'll get a new deal in the summer, and I think he deserves it. I mean, he's been voted he's not going to win it by any stretch of imagination, but he's one of the 6 candidates for manager of the year. So it says a lot about him and what
Yeah.
sort of people think of him outside of Wolves as well. And I'm a big fan, and I think you've got to entrust him. I really, really do.
Yeah, I think obviously the manager of the month curse is pretty much hit as well, because we've lost a couple of
Yeah,
games since
there's that as well.
since that come in. That's definitely a thing. Yeah, maybe I don't think I don't know. Maybe if I see him in Weatherspoons on Sunday, I might change my stance a little bit, But
Uh,
no, I'd fully, praise him for the job, and I think he's done a fantastic job. It's just a weird little feeling that I've got inside that I'm just like, I don't know, just I'm not 100% convinced. Maybe I'm like 80 to 90% convinced at the moment. I've just got that little bit of fear inside of me, and maybe it's just because I'm used to Wolves cocking things up with managers, or the last couple of years we've had it where managers have just started really badly
yeah,
for the season. So that may well be what it is. Go back to the goalkeeper situation, Ethan Diggory. Hypothetically, if/when both Sarr and Johnston go in the summer, is it better for us to get 2 keepers who are comfortable on the ball, or have 1 ball player and 1 shot stopper profile wise? Just wondering, as after tonight, I just can't see Dan Bentley being the second choice next season. I think everybody can see that. I think Vitor will see that as well. Jord as well. It's interesting because the profile of ball playing goalkeepers is such a common thing at the moment, I suppose. But it's an interesting one. I suppose you don't want 2 goalkeepers who are identical in terms of profile. In terms of profile of age and nationality, will be an interesting one, because I think the goalkeeper situation is is a very easy way to get your homegrown players. But I mean, what are your thoughts on it? I do think you need a good goalkeeper who can play with the ball at his feet, but obviously you want a decent shot stopper based on what we saw today as well.
yeah. I think if they bring 2 in, they'll be the same mould in terms of the same style. I think he wants a ball playing goalkeeper, and I think you saw Bentley at times today coming out of his box and trying to almost make a fourth centre half in a way of the back three and
Mm.
sort of be there. So I think that's what Vitor wants in a goalkeeper. I think you can get an experienced goalkeeper in that sort of sense. And by experience, I mean someone who's played over 100 pro games already and come in and be your number one. And I think your second one could be a younger keeper of that same ilk,
Mm.
who can sit on the bench and learn. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think there's some goalies out there as well that you could possibly go and get. I know Keller is going to be a real popular one for people to think, oh, you know what, maybe we could go and get him. But I think there's a lot of clubs that are going to be after him, really. But yeah, I think we'll be active in that market, and I think he'll want 2 ball playing goalkeepers. I really do.
Yeah, sticking. I mean, there's loads of questions on transfers. There'll be loads of content as well, guys. When after the season's done, we'll have obviously end of season podcast, which we're working on getting maybe a special guest for. And then I assume me, Jord, and Joe will do the sell loan keep series that we normally do. Loads of recruitment plan type stuff as well coming up. But Josh Downs says Cunha, Johnston, Bentley. Oh, he's put Bentley in there as well. Doyle, Semedo, Gedge, Sarabia, Fabio Silva, all but confirmed to be leaving. I don't know where he got Bentley from, to be fair, unless he meant Sar, I don't know. All but confirmed to be leaving, and you would expect a couple more. Do you expect the club to continue down this approach of development? I assume it means younger players coming in, or are we expecting some players you've actually heard of before? I think there will be experienced players, Jord. I think there's got to be as well. You look at those Cunha, a lot of top flight experience across Europe. Semedo, masses of experience. Gedge the same. Sarabia the same. Fabio Silva, although he's not really been part of the first team squad over the last few years, has got experience now as well. I think it's going to be a mix, surely. I mean, there's been a lot of links to younger South American players, which in one way is exciting, but sometimes frustrating because how quickly are they going to take to Premier League football? But I think they've had success with the few players that they've brought in from French League, and for argument's sake, of Agbedu and Manetti. So I would assume they're going to be fairly clever and do it in a sort of take a balanced approach to the transfers this summer.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few that come in. I think in a way I think there'll definitely be a few sort of more experienced pros that come in. I think they definitely will go into that South American market again. I think it's working in some of the people that we've been buying. I think it's successful. You can tend to get a cheaper player from there as well. So I think we definitely will maybe see one or two more coming from that sort of market. I think you can be a bit shrewd as well. I actually think there's a few free agents out there that I think you could add to the squad, who would give us a little bit more experience, Premier League experience as well. Not necessarily to come in and play 38 Premier League
What
games for
names
you,
are you
but
got, do you think? I saw Walker Peters maybe as one.
yeah, I think
But I think that was based on probably someone like Rodrigo being ready for many more minutes. So that's probably a decision the club have got to make.
yeah, and it's like you say that we very rarely go and do it. I think, like you say, Walker Peters is one that I think you could go and say, yeah, you know what, I think he could add something to this squad. One that me and Joe spoke about a little bit offline, who I think could add a bit of cover for that left wing back and left centre half position would be someone like Ben Davies. Again, I'm not saying he's going to come in and set the world alight, but I think he's a solid pro who could, offer you cover in two positions. There's a few, like I say, there's definitely a few out there that I think we could be quite cute with and sort of do that. And I don't think every signing you make has to be the next Messi or Maradona or Ronaldo. Because I think there might be a few people that turn their nose up at, you're saying Carl Walker Peters or a Ben Davies, for example, but people will turn their nose up at Matt Doherty, and
Yeah, he's done
he's
the
done a
job this
decent
year.
enough job. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's room for that. But we definitely, again, to add to that, we definitely do need to get some high profile signings in. We need to get some fucking good players in.
Yeah.
It's not right now. You're losing the quality we're losing. We need to get some good quality back in the door.
I've got a list here of the Premier League players out of contract. So at the time of recording, I'm just reading off a sheet here. So there may well be players that have renewed their deals or in talks to renew their deals. So don't shoot me. I'm going to read out some maybe. I'm not going to say they're unrealistic ones because there's players like Jorginho on there for argument's sake. I want to read out some players, Jordan. I want you to shout if you take them at Wolves. I mean, Villa to start with, Courtney House. I mean, he ain't played football for about 6 years, so I don't know what's going on there. Chris Meffam,
No.
Josh Da Silva or Ben Mee. I actually don't think Ben Mee would be a bad option, but I think we've got too many defenders.
Ben Mee's in the same mould as Ben Davies in a way of could possibly do both. But I think Ben Mee's a bit more on the older side at this point, so I'd probably say no to both of them.
Lamptey or James Milner.
I think Milner might end up back at Leeds. I think it might be his last one. Lamptey,
too injury prone. I think he wouldn't be a bad option though.
He was. He had a couple of years ago. You'd have been like, absolutely, I'll take Tariq Lamptey, but yeah, I think he's not really done it consistently for a bit now.
Nathaniel Klein.
No, too old.
No. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I don't mind him as an option.
I think we could do worse in terms of within that. But any time I hear about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I just think about that Everton space where
He's
they're
missed,
talking
isn't
about
it?
him wearing talking
Yeah.
about him wearing bra and panties or whatever it was. No knickers and I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But I know his missus. I know
Should
they've
be
had to come
kicking
out
off
because she's
today
been
as well.
getting had to come out and
Abdoulaye Doucouré?
I think Abdoulaye Doucouré could be an option.
Yeah. Michael Keane, no. I'll
No,
answer that. I'm just looking at some of the... Ashley Young?
no, too old.
That's it, no. Neil Maupay?
No, twat.
Carlos Vinicius?
5 years ago maybe, but not now.
Yeah. Just looking at some of the other ones. Vardy?
I don't want him.
No.
I think he's
It's not
shot.
happening anyway, but yeah. Just having a... Victor Lindelof? I'd be on that, speaks Portuguese as well. I'd be on that.
Again, I think we could do worse than Victor Lindelof, to be honest with you. But like I say, we've got a lot of centre halves.
Yeah. Christian Eriksen?
I would have said no, but then I thought he was brilliant against us. I know we beat him, but I thought he was the best player on the pitch when we played them the other week.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Just looking at some of the others. Callum Wilson. Again, it's just good players, just too injury prone.
I think Callum Wilson wouldn't be a bad option to come off the bench, but I think he'll want to play football because he's been doing
Yeah,
simply,
I'm only going to mention a few more. Sergio Reguilon.
No.
Danny Ings.
No.
Aaron Cresswell.
No.
And then that's pretty it. Kurt Zuma. I didn't think he was at West Ham anymore. Didn't he leave? Or did he only leave on loan?
Oh, I didn't even know he went on loan.
I knew he was in like Saudi or something, I thought.
Oh, was he?
I thought so.
Not after he kicked his cat.
No. No worries. Yeah, that was pretty much it. To be fair, I mean, it's not a great. Obviously, Kyle Walker-Peters was on there. Adam Lallana, I think, no as well. There are loads of players on there, but I'm not going to say Kevin De Bruyne for argument's sake. By the way, you shouted on this pod saying Liverpool, and they were linked with him. To be fair, weren't they?
Yeah, I know. I'll have to get the
Got
Euro
quashed.
Millions numbers if he ends up getting there.
Yeah, he got quashed quite quickly, to be fair. Let's try and... I was just seeing if Vitor has said anything else. He says, of course, we need to sign new players for the next season. We need to be stronger. So he's made it pretty obvious. He knows that the team needs to be stronger as well. Let's try and finish off with one or two more questions before we finish off. I saw a good one earlier. Nothing but Neto. Or Stone Cold Strand Larson is what he's now called on Twitter. Was the rotation worth it? I can answer that no. Was it not obvious that Manetzi should have started next to Jorgen Strand Larson regardless of his desire to rotate? Is this your burner account, Jord?
No, it's not.
I do agree. I think every time we don't play that sort of physical midfielder, i.e. Manetzi, because he's really the only one that's been doing it, since coming, we tend to struggle to create the opportunities. And I think we saw that again today.
Yeah, I sort of jovially put a tweet out at half time about it because, again, I just see enough people slag this guy off all the time. And yeah, Gully, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about other people as well that do.
Matt.
But I think Matt, yeah, he's just extremely effective at what he does, and people aren't going to like it, but he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet next season. And
Do you still think he will?
yeah, 100%, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that first game of the season, Marshall Manetzi is going to be on that team sheet, no matter who we buy. I think Vitor trusts him. I think he likes him. I think we're a better team with him in the squad, in the team than not in the team, and I think that's not. I don't think anyone can deny that on tonight's performance. So yeah, I think he trusts him. He's a profile of player he likes, and he likes what he does. And again, I come back to it. He's extremely effective at what he does. People can say, "Oh, well, he's just a cardio man. He runs and he does this and he does that." Well, if it was that fucking easy, everyone else should be fucking doing it. They don't. So he's
You don't
obviously
see Mo
effective at what he does.
Farah being a good footballer, do you?
I watched him at
I've seen him
Soccer
at
Aid,
Soccer
mate. He
Age.
can't. Yeah, he
He's
can't kick
gash.
a football, mate. Yeah, he'd win a marathon, but he can't kick a football. So it's
Oh,
not that simple to do both.
oh
There you
gosh,
go.
yeah. Sam Beacon, who's better, Dan Bentley or Harry Gill? I mean, you look at Harry Gill in the charity tournament. I've got to play. Well, we both got to play Harry Gill maybe a couple of times.
Yeah.
This year we're playing a charity game in the summer, and then hopefully the Content Creators Cup is due a return, which may be an exclusive. I don't know. But yeah, Harry did reply. It was Sam Beacon who asked that question. Harry said, "I'm ashamed you've even had to ask that, bro." Harry did save a couple of penalties for us in the Content Creators Cup, which we did lift. And we've got to try and... Jord, are you returning to our team this
Yeah, you can
summer,
have
this
me.
September? Yeah.
I
I
was I
mean,
was I was on a
obviously.
golf trip, wasn't I? Yeah. The
Yeah,
the,
that's
the,
on.
the one before that though, I was.
Yeah, you
You
ran
know,
the show, mate. We
thank
missed.
you.
We missed. It was you and Liam as well who ran the
Yeah.
show for us, really, and Ewan. But I don't know if Ewan's just had surgery on his knee,
Yeah, I don't
so I
think
don't know.
Ewan's going to be fit, is he?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. There was another funny, funny-ish one. TW, not us. I don't know. He's called C Count on Twitter. Who will be the bigger loss next season, Cunha or Matt Cooper? Based on the last 4 months, I know my answer. So I don't know what he's thinking. Matt says
Yeah.
they've both been a pain in the arse for Dave, which is very true. I think the podcast has run very smoothly without Matt. Not
Yeah.
he may not
Well,
like hearing it, but
we might need to leave that for the fans of the podcast to see if they prefer it with or without him.
yeah.
I'll miss Matt on here, but we've sort of come used to it already a little bit.
Mm.
He's already sort of. I feel like he sort of announced he's leaving. It's like the Gary Lineker thing, and all of a sudden, Joe comes in like Mark Chapman or Kelly
Someone,
Summers and
not to
just takes over.
blow smoke up Joe's backside, he says he much prefers. Someone messaged me saying they much prefer Joe to Matt the other day. He
Really?
goes, or no, he said I like the new scouting guy better than Matt.
Oh,
So
it wasn't Matt's missus, was it?
yeah, Adrian. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, but he said scouting guy, so I don't know if he thinks Joe's name is Concept Scouting, as in first name Concept, last name
Yeah.
Scout. I don't know, but no, I think we've got a good balance, and Matt obviously will be missed as he's leaving next week. Which a couple of people commented last week. Couldn't believe he was going, so they obviously missed that podcast. Maybe we'll have to do a come dine with me podcast at Matt's house when he cooks us up some nice meals or something. I don't know. Jord, unless there's anything else to add, I think we can close the show there.
Yeah.
I think obviously Sunday Brentford, which is going to be an interesting game. I would hope that we go as strong as we can. I just want us to win the game at the end of the day. I just want to finish the season on a high, say goodbye to players that have worked hard ultimately. It's been a weird season because it feels like it's gone really fast, but at the same time it feels like it's gone really slow. I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest. I think the year's gone quick, but in terms of the season, it has felt like a little bit of a slog at times, like Jord made out earlier. But I'm just hoping we can finish on a high. I don't think Brentford can qualify for Europe anymore.
I think it depends on. I didn't think they could, but then I saw something earlier today, and I could be mistaken. I think it all depends on if Chelsea win the Conference League. So I think
Right,
if
okay.
Chelsea win the Conference League and they don't come in the top five, they can choose whether they want to go back in the Conference League or go into the Europa League because they've won the Conference League. And if they choose to go in the Europa League, which you're going to for
Yeah, of course
Chelsea,
you will.
I
Yeah.
think then a Conference League position goes to eighth. I think.
So at the moment it's Brighton. So Brentford would have to win and hope Brighton lose. And Brighton on the last day, I think they've got Spurs. So, but again, it's interesting because I think if depending on that result, Spurs United, I think the last few weeks it's been
Yeah,
like, yeah, they're going to give it up. But the last game of the season, it'll be interesting to see how both of those
yeah.
teams approach that. Because
It'll
Ange
be.
and or Amarim may be in or out of job or
Oh,
under pressure.
I can't wait for it tomorrow. El Shitico. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be unbelievable. But every bone in my body just wants Spurs to go and win it. So I think it's
Why? Just because
funny.
you despise Man U or because of the Cunha thing as well? Or both?
I mean, I don't actually despise Man U as such. I just think I despise the fact of they just think they're gonna
Turn up
they
and win
think they're
it.
going to be turn up and win and all this sort of stuff. And I think I just like the demise of Man United at the moment. I think through my childhood, which wasn't too dissimilar. Wasn't that much after yours before anyone says anything. Man United just winning everything. It was a bit boring. A lot of glory hunting Man United fans and all that sort of stuff. I like the misery for them at the minute, and I think actually if they don't win, I think they're fucked financially.
I think
And
both of them are so lucky that the bottom three have been as bad as they are as well. Because
oh,
imagine if it was a more competitive like relegation. I know we were in it,
yeah,
so I don't want to say too much. But imagine if there was like bottom three, those two would be in trouble.
real trouble. I know. And
I think they
again, when
would
it
have
comes
gone
to
as well. By the way, they would have both gone a long time before if they were
yeah,
in
oh, if they're
genuinely
real
relegation.
genuine
Yeah.
trouble, yeah. I think, and going on to the Cunha thing, like, um, I I would like to put it out there now. I think that ends in tears.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and you know what?
What him
I th
like him at Manchester United?
Yeah, yeah. I think they're a car crash. I think he's petrol, and he's made situations and scenarios bad for himself at Wolves. He shouldn't really be doing it. There's no real need for you to be doing some of the things you're doing. And if he can't take some Wolves fans calling him out on his bullshit, let alone when Man United fans start
As soon
doing
as
it,
he signs that contract, he needs to go off all social
deactivate. Yeah,
media.
yeah, he needs to deactivate everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe that's part of the clause. Man United just go, yeah. By the way, mate, like it's all going to be run by a management. You're not going on social media because he will be having an argument with Mark Goldbridge within the first 3 months, which will be great for us because I think it'd be hilarious. But I'm telling you now,
Yeah.
like he has one bad performance, those fans get on the back his back, he'll
Mm.
be nibbling, and it'll
Yeah.
be it'll be great for everyone from the outside looking in. But I think it's his ego that thinks he can go to Man United and be their messiah.
Mm.
I think he genuinely thinks he goes there and he sorts all their problems. And
Yeah.
as good as a footballer he is, that ain't happening.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see the future of Amarim as well if they do lose, and what happens to the Cunha deal. Because surely they aren't going to be having the funds to. I mean, it
I
sounds like he
don't,
still
yeah,
wants to go regardless of European football. But are United going to happy? Still going to pull the trigger on the deal if they don't get it?
they ain't got a pot to piss in, so I don't know how
No.
they're going to afford it. I don't know. Yeah, so they need Champions League football.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's telling that Cunha's saying yes to Man United, or like whether they got Champions League or not, because again, it comes back to I think he's saying yes to Man United because they're the only team batshit enough to take a chance on him.
I was going to say, because surely there's better teams out there that would take the punt on 62.5 million, or maybe there's not
On his
because of his
footballing ability,
attitude. Yeah.
footballing ability, I think a lot of teams would have him, but no, I've said it on here a few times. I don't think any fully functioning football club would go anywhere near Mateus Cunha from who are winning things. Like I think he could go in on paper. He could go into Arsenal, improve them. Liverpool go and improve them. Man City probably go in and improve them on this season, but they'll be
Yeah.
back. So let's just take them three. I think he could, on paper, two of the three definitely improves, and one of them's the, the Premier League winners, and the other one lost the semi final of the Champions League. They're not going anywhere near him because of his off the field antics.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
Mm.
Fact. Because the money's not a problem for that sort of price tag.
It
Not a
will.
problem at all.
It will be, and probably to be fair, by the next time we do the podcast, the end of season pod, we'll probably have a much better clarity on the situation as well because we'll
Oh
know
yeah.
Manchester United's situation and we'll probably know about the deal as well.
I think before now and the Brentford game, the Cunha deal gets announced. I think Semedo gets announced he's off as well. I think this week between sort of what we're calling Tuesday night, between Wednesday and Sunday,
I'm not sure
this
the
stuff's
Cunha
going to
deal will
come
get
out.
announced, but the Semedo thing I would hope gets done. I think probably Tuesday the Cunha deal will be pretty much done. But
Yeah,
I do think it depends on the Champions League. I know it's easy for Cunha to say, "Oh, I'm not bothered if they're in Europe or not." Yeah, that's easy to say. But
yeah.
why have Manchester United not contacted Wolves yet? Because they probably know that they need to do the right thing first.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah. Jim Ratcliffe's going to have to go on OnlyFans, I think, if they do lose tomorrow.
have you seen the
Someone's
Black?
going to have
Have you
to.
seen the? I don't know if you watched Black Mirror. There's an episode. There's a
Yeah.
new episode on the new series where there's a guy basically to fund his wife's illness. He
Yeah,
has
yeah.
to
I've
do
seen that
magic.
episode
Yeah,
as well.
it'd be end
Yeah.
up like that, won't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on, cut your finger off. We'll give you
Yeah.
20 grand. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, that's all. We'll be back next week when the season's done, probably Tuesday, Wednesday for the end of season podcast. And we're back later on next week as well, hopefully with the Sell Loan Keep series, which always goes down quite well, where we will review the players and their situations going into the new season. Jord, thanks for jumping on. I know it was a late podcast, but enjoyed it nonetheless. Where can people find you if you wish? If they wish, sorry.
yeah. Jord7 on Twitter and Instagram.
Perfect, mate. I'm at Dave as a party everywhere, and we're at Talking Wolves everywhere. So drop us a follow, hit that like button wherever you are to stay up to date with the latest Wolves news. It's time for bed for me and Jord now. It's 11:30, but no, enjoyed it nonetheless. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, leave us a 5-star rating. But until the next pod, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Fingers crossed it's 3 points to the Wolves on the final game of the season against Brentford, and we'll catch you on the next one.